I just went looking for a picture, to something on the internet that I could pilfer with a bird and a camera in it, and came across this. Apparently, the CIA really did this in the 1970s. They put cameras on birds. Anyway, but we have Kevin McGowan to give who has organized the presentation for us. And he's been a driving force in a photo sharing night in the Bird Club for a long time. In the early days, members would bring 5 physical slides to put in a slide projector and show. But digital photography took over a while ago, and Kevin has been doing this event as a more digital event for the last 20 years, is it now? Something like that. And so I'm very happy to welcome Kevin and thank him for the presentation. And I'm also very grateful to everybody who has contributed their photographs, because that's what makes it fun.
Well, thank you, and welcome everybody. I'm glad to see so many eager faces here tonight, and we have, excuse me, we have been doing this a long time. It used to be there's only like one person that brought slides, and what was his name? Do you remember? He was the only person who had like a telephoto lens and was actually taking physical slides of things back in the 80s, late 80s when I started with the Bird Club. And Warren Courier, is that right? Yeah. And I think I may have contributed 1 or 2 slides there somewhere, but it was, harder when it cost you, $2 a slide, a picture, right? So once it became digital, it became much, much easier to do. And that's what we're going to do tonight, is we're going to show some digital things. Now, we have a lot of people presenting. We've got 19 people on the docket, which is less than last year. So last year we had to really push, but we don't have to push, but we have to be on time. So remember, it's 3 minutes per 5 slides, and what we'll do is have people come up here in front. I'll move the microphone over so you can talk, and I will move the slides when you tell me to do that, and you tell us all the fun things you want us to know about your photographs. And we're going to be doing this in alphabetical order by last name. So we're going to start with Suan Yong. And we're not going backwards. We are going to, but Suan needs to go, so I cut him some slack here. So, and Jim and Kay Burkett are on deck. So Suan, if you want to come up and let me get my stuff going here.
Hello, everybody. So this is a nice peregrine. It isn't mine, but it's still nice to look at.
Thanks. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm having.
Yeah, I actually haven't been taking that many photos lately, but still, I find that I have enough, even from this year. I actually have tons of backlog from previous years I could have dug from, but somehow it ended up being enough. And I think some of mine this year is actually on the iPhone, which, if you believe it, maybe it's just one, I don't remember. So, now that I'm in charge of Bird Club field trips, I kind of have to fill in the blanks when I can't get enough leaders to step up. So leaders step up. But when they don't, I just throw in a morning at Stewart Park. You can never go wrong with the morning at Stewart Park any time of year. This is just another morning at Stewart Park. Wasn't expecting much. Go around in the lagoon. These wood ducks were just perched just perfectly in terms of color and composition. So, yeah, just get out there. So I don't know if I had time to tell you my American Dipper story. Is that when I started birding, before I started birding, I went out west a lot, and then I went to the Canadian Rockies and saw the sign describing the Dipper as this aquatic songbird. I was like, this is fascinating. I want to find one. And on several trips, I just would never find one. I went to Alaska. I may have seen one sort of fly, but wasn't, sure and not satisfying. But then I went back to review some photos from previous trips before I was a birder to Oregon, and there was a photo of an American dipper I had taken before I knew what they were. It must have done something interesting to warrant me taking a photo of this otherwise drab bird. But this was just in November. I went to Colorado, and it was actually like super close in this nice place, so I was able to get nice shots. And the thing I like about this photo is you can kind of see how waterproof it is just from a still, because like the water, it does not stick at all. It is just, yeah, that's good. Okay, so this is my iPhone photo. So now that we have bird banding operation happening down in Lindsay Parsons, do come check it out next year. It's great. So, bird quiz. What bird is this? Right, it's a molting during molting season. It's hard to tell, but it has one hint, one little tuft of orange feather. So it's what I like to say, this bird should be named the orange crown warbler, because it actually has an orange crown and is a warbler, but is actually an oven bird. Yeah. I have a bunch of other banding photos, but chose that one because I thought it was neat. So after bird banding in the summertime, it's like on the way back, it's hot summer afternoon, I would just go to Lower Treeman and, just go for a dip. And so those of you who've been out birding with me will know that I've lately been trying to learn the songbird alarm calls, because that's how you find things like this. And so I was walking across this afternoon down towards the parking lot, and I just heard the goldfinch. I wouldn't even say they're alarm calls. They have the cutest alert calls. Just go, meek, 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 meek. So I don't think it's alarm. I think it's just alert. They're just like, keep an eye on this guy. I think that's what they're saying. So I just heard that up. I look up, what is it? And without binoculars, there's this shape up there. It's kind of red tail-like, but darker. So I went to the car, brought my binoculars. It's this guy just sitting out there, kind of panting in the hot summer afternoon. So it was a big surprise. And finally, this photo is not from this year. It's not from the U.S., but it's actually from last year in Australia. It's kind of the lead into the next month's talk, which me and Diane and a bunch of others are going to present about Australia. This is near Brisbane, a place called O'Reilly's. And they have the Rosella. So the star of the show is the Regent's bowerbird, the yellow and black ones. The parrots are just kind of everywhere. And so this is kind of like a Christmas tree. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suan. Those are the two rosellas on the side and the king parrot, right? Isn't that what's there? I've never seen them. Okay, next up is Kay Burkett and then Judy Burrill on deck.
Okay, this is our blue jay that came to our backyard, and the parents were coming, bringing food or getting the soot from our soot feeders, and when the fledglings came about, they came to it, and it was kind of entertaining watching these young ones trying to balance on the wire and practicing their calls. Next one. Okay, this is the beautiful nuthatch, and I took a picture of this in Bhutan in the Himalayan mountains in the deep forest there, and its mannerisms are very similar to our nuthatch, except it's bigger, bluer, and it also has a louder, more shrill call. Next. Now this one is taken in Delaware at the Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge. And when we were there, this big storm came in from the ocean, really fast moving, and drenched all the birds and all the bird watchers and all the photographers. And as we were driving along, we saw this blue grosbeak. You could see the big beak there and the rusty collared feathers on the top there. So if you go, I think there's a trip planned this spring. You'll want to go because there's so many amazing birds there. Next. Okay, this is a pair of hyacinth macaws, and I took this picture in the Pantanal of Brazil. It's one of the largest wetlands in the world, and in the dry season you can drive 100 miles on this dirt road and over a number of different wooden bridges until we got to one of the last lodges, the Santa Rosa Lodge, and there was this pair of hyacinth macaws in this huge tree right outside our room, and I sort of joked that it was the welcome committee because one was giving us a high five. Well, I guess in his case it was a high four. But yeah, we saw them several different times when we were there. Last one. Okay, this is the masked flower piercer. And you can see on the end of the bill there's a little sharp point at which it gets nectar from the bottom of the flowers. It's actually not, it's a tanager, and this picture was actually taken in Ecuador in the cloud forest outside of Quito, and those of you who are going are in for a rare treat because I'm sure you'll see this further. There's quite a few of them. And I'm told, you can tell that my theme tonight was blue, and that the feathers of bluebirds are not actually caused by the pigment like in my watercolor set, but rather by the structure of the feathers and how they reflect light off of the sun's rays to our human eyes. So that's the last of my blue birds for tonight.
Thank you, Kay. Next up is Judy Burrill, Yvette de Boer on deck.
Thanks.
Find your microphone spot. Just move it to pitch.
Okay. I really liked watching these two eagles and was kind of flabbergasted by the angle that the one on the lower that had been on the ground was taking off to get out of the way. This was taken in Bombay National Wildlife Refuge, Bombay Hook, and there's so many nesting bald eagles there. It's really a delight, as well as so many other birds in April. We've been there the last 5 years, and it's just amazing. And here are two immature anhingas, and can anybody guess where I might have taken that picture? Florida. And where in Florida? You got it. I loved the softness of their down and the color of their necks and the shape of their necks. And when I was thinking about showing this, I was thinking, okay, do I call them immature or do I call them juvenile? And one of the things I like about this program is that it gets me to look and think more closely or deliberately about things. And it said that an immature was any bird that was not an adult or breeding bird, and is a broader term than juvenile. Juvenile is about the plumage that they have when they leave the nest or after they're done with the downy stage. So these folks I would call immature. Okay. That's not a bird. The reason I'm showing you this is because that is the ceiling of our open front porch. And what you're seeing is the trim around the skylight, which those holes were at first a round hole. And what made the holes were carpenter bees. And at first we thought, oh gosh, they're gonna make a mess of the ceiling. They did not go any farther than the trim board. I guess because it gave them enough depth to put in their eggs. And so the next one. But then I guess one of their biggest predators are woodpeckers. And the holes originally were round. All the elongated holes were made by the woodpeckers. And I was thinking, okay, who do I support here? Do I support the bees or do I support the birds? And I thought, I'll just let it go its course and get out of the way and let them do it. Oh, and also in doing this photo night, I learned about another way for me to tell the difference between downy and hairy woodpeckers. If you can't see the bill or you're only seeing the back of the bird, that there's on the hairy a black stripe that goes down from the top of the head, down the neck to the upper back, and is not interrupted. On the downy, it is. There's a white right here behind the head that disrupts the black. So now I have another way of identifying them. And here's a great egret. And there's a place in Huntington Beach State Park in South Carolina. I see some nods, people that have been there by the rookery. It's just a delightful pathway with so many birds that are nesting and all the different plumage, breeding plumage, and all the amazing noises and sounds that they make. And you can be as close as 30 feet to the birds that are nesting, and they don't seem to pay any mind to the people. It's just a great place to see birds that are nesting. And the next day I took this one of little blue heron in the same place at the rookery. That's it.
All right, next up is Yvette de Boer and Jody Enck on deck.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I recognize many of you from teaching. I maybe had your children at DeWitt or the high school. From here at the Visitor Center, I work part-time cross-country skiing, so it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to present tonight. What I am going to present, I actually checked in with Kevin first because I didn't take any of these pictures. I received for my birthday a couple years ago what's called a Birdbuddy smart bird feeder. It's not so smart, but smart enough to take pictures. And when I first set it up, I got sort of the routine cardinals and blue jays and goldfinches and goldfinches and goldfinches. And but as time went on, I got some pretty interesting pictures that I wanted to share with you. So beginning with a starling, and when I looked at that at first, I'm like, that's not a starling. The beak is so elongated, and I thought, I think it is. Now, interestingly enough, with the Birdbuddy camera, and I'm not trying to advertise it, it does typically tell what bird is there, and I would say it's right about maybe 80% of the time. So we know this as a European starling, not a common starling, but of course they're common, so maybe that's how it got its name. All right, next slide, please. So in addition to starlings, I was really honored throughout the year, in fact, including December of this year, for bluebirds, to come and visit. And so sometimes just one came, sometimes one and different species were at the feeder, and then sometimes I got a pair of them. And so it was really nice to see an image of two of the birds together, either staring out, and these, by the way, were all in my backyard. I didn't go anywhere exotic. Either staring out or feeding together. It was really a treat. So lots of different woodpeckers, hairy, downy, no pileated, but the red-bellied woodpecker was a frequent visitor. And again, I just love this image with the male with a nice, you can really see the red on its head. I also found the feet often interesting to look at them a little bit more closely. A lot of visits from two birds at the same time, so I'm not sure exactly what was going on here, whether it was an adult feeding a fledgling, whether it was an adult feeding another adult, whether it was adults saying, stay away. But I had birds, cardinals feeding each other. I had bluebirds feeding each other. So it was really fun to see that as well.
This is a youngster.
It is a youngster. Oh, how do you know?
Bright red mouth.
Oh, okay.
And it's a little duller. It's not shiny black.
Okay.
Like an adult in their first plumage, they're usually not glossy.
Okay.
And yes, the parents do feed them when they're as big as they are.
And then I had to leave you with this because I love this picture. It was had a lot of grosbeaks in the spring, females, males, but this one just kind of peeking in to the camera the way it did was really a treat. So thank you.
All right, Jody, Enck up. Ken, Haas, you're up next.
Thanks, and hi, everybody. How you doing? All of my photos tonight are from our Cayuga Bird Club trip to Peru last summer. And this is a bluish-fronted jacamar that we saw. And it's named bluish-fronted for a blue forehead. That's where the front part comes in. Jacamars are more closely related to woodpeckers than they are to hummingbirds. So even though it's got that really long bill like that, it's not a hummingbird at all. So if you are interested in seeing bird pictures, you can come to an event like this, or you can go to eBird and take a look at photos online. You can Google things, but you really can't go online and find photos like the next one. So this is our group taking a look at a plain-throated ant wren that happens to be right behind me. I had gone to the side of the group to take a group picture of them looking out, and then the bird flew behind me, and so everybody's very intently looking. Here's our guide, Silverio, right here with his own laser pointer, and then everybody is really focused on it. And I love how even people who aren't holding binoculars or cameras up to their face are really focused on the bird and not on me. We're just like not paying attention at all. So I like that picture. Here we are again. This time we're up at Machu Picchu, and we spent part of the time at Machu Picchu looking for Inca wrens. They're very range restricted. They have a very tiny range. So if you can go on eBird and take a look at where you find them, Machu Picchu is one of the places. And this is the third place we tried to find this bird, and we found it. And so everybody's taking a look here. And this is another guide, William, that we had. He was with us the entire time, and he's got a smile on his face. He always had a smile on his face, but especially here because we finally found the bird. And oh, by the way, next slide, the scenery at Machu Picchu is not so bad either. So this particular picture was taken about an hour and a half before that previous picture. So after William and I had our picture taken here, we worked our way down. We walked all through the ruins and went around the back trail, and we were finding that wren back on this backside right over here somewhere. So that was a pretty spectacular day. So, and then lastly, we had a chance in the village of Machu Picchu, which is it used to be called Agua Caliente. They changed the name. But there were some feeders there, and we found these birds. And one of the birds that we saw, this one right here, was a normal palm tanager. And then this bird stumped us for just a minute because it's not supposed to be yellow. It's supposed to be green, like army green with black wings and black tail. And this bird has a genetic mutation called xanthochromism. And so it shows up as yellow like this, but only on the front half of the bird. The back half of the bird is normal. So that was a really cool thing. It just stumped us for a few minutes, but it was a cool bird to see. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Different. All right, Ken Haas is going to talk to us now, and then Jonathan Hanft, if you're here, please come up next. All right.
Did anybody have xanthochromism tonight? How about that? Good evening. Well, let me take you back to January of 2020. This was the best photo I had at the time of a short-eared owl. And that was taken with a 560 millimeter lens. So that bird was really far away. And I was very upset and a little disappointed that it was not good. And so I decided I needed better photos of short-eared owls. By the way, Steve Kress would call this kind of photo in the National Audubon Society Birder's Handbook a spectacular photo, with the emphasis on the spec. So I got a tip from Jared Dawson, CBC member and Trumansburg living guy, to go to Ovid actually it was about a year ago, last January. There had been some short-eared owls being seen up in the Ovid area, which is just up Route 96 from me. Go ahead. So I had better equipment, better time, more knowledge. And great lighting. And that's what you need. It wasn't the next night. I waited until the weather was going to be right. I was there at about an hour and a half before sunset. And the sun came in and out of the clouds a little bit, but it gave me an opportunity when it was not hidden by the clouds to get some really nice dramatic lighting. Go ahead. I usually don't like to take pictures with birds on or near man-made objects. But for the shorty on an old weather fence post, I'll make an exception. By the way, after the first one, all of these photos are one location, one evening, one species, and one individual bird. These are all the same guy. And this guy just flew right past me, which was difficult because it was 14 degrees and a 10-mile-an-hour winds out of the north. I couldn't feel my shutter button finger. Go ahead. And this is what it all came down to, and it was all worth it. Now, my camera was shooting at 12 frames a second. 1/12 of a second before this image, the bird was a little bit lower and a little bit farther away. But this weed here, that was up into and bisecting the wing of the bird. I didn't like it. 1/12 of a second, it cleared, its eyes are gazed, and the talons are out. I got lucky.
What a difference a 1/12 of a second can make. Right, next up is Jonathan Hanft and Meena. Get ready to do your thing.
So this is actually a sequence of probably one of my two most exciting observations this past year. I just moved here from Minneapolis, so I've been here about 2 months, and I've been loving this club. So thank you all. The story is much more exciting than the quality of those photographs. And maybe if you could just go through the 5, just so people can sort of see the sequence.
So let me start over.
So this was actually 2 blocks from my house in Minneapolis. It was early April. It was like the last sort of flurries. These are 2 Cooper's hawks mating. And these are stills from a short video. And what was really interesting was, 2 things. In these photos, you can't see it that well, but you can really, I've never seen a male and female together, and you could really see the size dimorphism. It was pretty dramatic. I mean, it seemed almost like the male was a third smaller than the female. And between before and after copulation, and this was an elm tree right by a church, the female was pulling feathers out of her breast, and they were just floating down with the snow flurries. And my guess is, and anybody can really knows what was happening, and my guess is maybe she was creating a brood patch. And I watched them for about 5 minutes. Yeah. And that's it.
Okay, all these videos I'm going to show you are all taken in Falkland Island. And it was an amazing trip. And first bird I want to these are all cell phone 4 of these videos are cell phone videos, so I was very close to these birds. I was sitting and photographing something else on the other side. Suddenly, I saw a big 8-foot wingspan bird with 1 foot long bill landed right behind me, like about 4 feet away from me. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I was a little bit scared because of his big, long beak. But he was gentle giant, and we had, he was there for 10 minutes behind me. Okay, this is a imperial cormorants collecting nesting material, and watch what he's doing. He has been running, so now he wants to go to his nesting site. He has to avoid lots of people in between. And then finally he went back. So he came all the way around this and then went back this way. These are king penguins. Okay, did you see what he did? Like put his head down. So it seems like he was screaming and then he felt like ashamed and put his head down. But it is kind of submission, it seems. This is another interesting thing. This Western rockhopper penguin is trying to, it fell down, collecting nesting material, it fell down. So he couldn't see, I could see the stone was just nearby. Then he's searching everywhere. No, that is not good, that is not good. There are so many stones, he couldn't find one correct one. Then he came like 3 or 4 feet away from me, and then finally he found one. And after he picks it up, he's in such a hurry to go back because he didn't want to drop it. He's running so fast, he went all the way down. These are Magellanic penguins. Early morning they come to take a bath, and after they bathe, they come and bray. But not only braying, they all form a group and they all look into each other and they start billing. So I thought like puffins, it may be like finding a mate, but it seems it's aggression. Some scientists have studied how this billing occurs. It seems females' bills are smaller than males' bills, so they can tell the difference. So it is basically males' aggression. That's what scientists have concluded. And that's it. Thank you.
Next up is Bob Horn. Steve Kress is on deck. Thank you. Take me a second here to readjust.
Wherever I travel now, I not only take my binoculars, but I take my camera. And this year, I want to show you 3 areas that were very spectacular and kind to me. We were at a resort in Maine, and the dining deck was on the 2nd floor, and we're looking down into the rhododendron, and there was a redstart nest. So we got to watch this for a week, and it was fascinating to watch this progress. This is, if you've ever, are you aware of the, there's a water sewage reclamation area for Orlando. Are people familiar with that? Yeah, it's a fabulous place. So I was there, and this blue heron I did not know what he had, but I watched him take this thing and just down the hatch like spaghetti. And from what I could research, this is a siren salamander, great siren salamander. They get up to 2 feet long. They're common in Florida, but it was fascinating to watch this bird swallow this salamander. was in Belize, and I didn't realize how beautiful the ruddy turnstone was from the back. But there were several of them in this area, and I was able to get this shot, which I like very much. The final place, all our grandchildren are in Boston. When I'm in Boston, I go to Castle Island. Are people familiar with Castle Island? It is it's in the southern part of the Boston Harbor. And there's a walkway that goes out into the harbor and goes around, and it's probably, 400 yards. And on one side, you've got the open harbor. On the other side, you have protected water. And when the tide's going out, the winter birding in particular is fabulous. These are common birds here, the purple sandpiper, and also this winter there was a flock of snow bunnings, and I just happened to get this shot, which I was lucky to get. So if you're in Boston, go to Castle Island, particularly in the winter.
Thank you, Bob. Steve Kress is up, and Andre LaClair. Were you here, Andre? Oh, good. I didn't see you there. Good. Steve.
Okay, thank you. So for most of my life, I've headed to Maine during the summer, and the breeding season there precluded me from seeing most of the other members of the Alcidae. And for years, I've been coming to the Cayuga Bird Club, and I've been hearing about visiting islands in the Pribilof group, notably St. Paul Island. So last spring, I decided I'm going to do that, and so I made it out to St. Paul Island. One of the most amazing things about this trip was the fact that I actually got there. It's one of the most hard to get to places. You have to fly hundreds of miles into the fog, and you don't know whether you're going to be able to get there until there's a little window in the fog, and it may or may not be there. So I actually landed on the first day that we were supposed to, and I soon met up with the tufted puffins, which, although there's one tufted puffin in Maine now, and for several years it keeps coming back and hanging out with the Atlantic puffins. But there were lots of them on St. Paul. Recommended highly. And their neighbors there are the horned puffins, and these birds are nesting in lava crevices, and they're parading around on black lava with golden lichens. So it's just photographically a very beautiful setting to finally meet up with these other puffins. And I have just one more to share, and that's this tiny little puffin member, and this is the crested auklets, which are not very common on St. Paul, but there were enough of them to show off. I didn't get close enough to smell the sort of awesome tangerine smell they're famous for, but saw the little black birds in the black lava, and I'm really glad I caught it. And one of the fun things about this trip for me was that leaving the island, the fog would not permit the next flights to come in. Unfortunately, Bob McGuire was scheduled to come in right on the tail end of my visit, and I was delayed 3 days, and that was not a problem at all. Just more time with the Alcids. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Andre LaClair is up. Tracy McLellan on deck.
Every year, my wife and I try to knock off a couple more national parks. So this past spring, we did a road trip and kind of did a loop around the eastern southwest of us loop, taking us down and around. And this was actually on the way home. This is a wetland in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And there's a couple wetlands there, and this black duck actually posed, and I actually got a break. We we got chased by tornadoes, hail, thunderstorms, pretty much everything. I don't know if you remember last spring, but poor people in the South, Arkansas and Tennessee and so forth, they really had a rough year to start out. So that was kind of a break. And he was just kind of preening, and was able to reach him with a 1.4 teleconverter with a 600 millimeter. He wasn't that close. But I don't see black ducks too often, but they're just an elegant duck. Next slide. He was watching, and coming towards him was the female. As soon as she got close enough, he decided he was going to go. I don't know if he was courting or what, but as soon as he stepped into the water and started to swim towards her, she made a U-turn. And he hurried up and caught up to her, but just kept his pace, and he was a gentleman. But it was nice to see a pair together. Next slide. This is actually Indiana Dunes National Park, and the wetlands there, we didn't see quite as many birds, but I have never seen a red-headed woodpecker before. And he was a long ways out. And there was actually a pair of males kind of flitting around in the dead trees out in the standing water. So I was very pleased. That was my highlight for that vacation, because most places we went to birding wasn't very good. Next slide. Now back to Cuyahoga, the same wetland that the black ducks were in. Not as nicely composed. There's a pretty picture of swans but what I like about this picture is you can see two male wood ducks at the same time with two different angles. And is there really a bad angle with a male wood duck? I don't think so. It's just an absolutely gorgeous bird. And I think one more. Yeah. Also in Cuyahoga Valley, and you actually drive right through the middle of it, but south of where the wetlands are, there's a great blue heron rookery, and there's probably 24 sycamore trees, and there's got to be 100+ nests there. And that's when it was really raining, so it was kind of a take the bag off the camera kind of thing and try to shoot and just try to kind of capture the essence of what was going on. There were nests being made, there were birds already incubating, there was just all sorts of activity. I just wish it was a little drier day. I would have probably gotten some nicer pictures. But that's it. So it was a good trip.
Thank you, Tracy McLellan will talk to us now. And Kevin Murphy, you're on deck.
Thank you, Kevin. So the theme of my photographs this year is green birds. And the back of the green bird here is a Clossus cuckoo in Ethiopia. It's a fledgling that's being fed by a yellow-bellied Ermamula. I got it right. Okay. Which is smaller than the cuckoo fledgling. In addition to the birds in the photograph, there was a larger cuckoo that was on the far side, of course, and up higher on the shrub. We could see it through the shrub, but I couldn't get a photograph of it, and I think that was probably a parent overseeing how its young was being fed. Anyway, there are 3 species of bright green cuckoos in Africa, and this is one of them. The next one is also in Ethiopia. This is Prince Ruspoli's Turco. And turcos have a different kind of green from other green birds. Most green is mostly a structural color. It's not like Kay was talking about blue in birds is usually a structural color, not a pigment. It might be modified by a little bit of pigment. But in turcos, the green is a pigment, and it's a very unusual pigment. For anybody who's interested, the chemistry, it's a porphyrin that has copper in it. And the shade of green is very different from the other green birds. It's more of an olive green. It's not the bright yellowy green that other green birds are. The next one. These are long-tailed broadbills in Bhutan. Again, very bright green, and I really don't know how they manage their feathers to make themselves look so smooth. If you get a really sharp photograph and you're really up close, you can see that it has, that it's actually made of feathers and has feather barbs. but otherwise they somehow make themselves look very, very smooth. This pair was part of a flock of 8 or 10 birds that were flitting around in the bushes, and these two were sitting right next to each other and flipping their bright blue tails at each other. Sometimes both tails were up, and sometimes one was up and one was down, and sometimes they were both down. And they were sitting looking at each other, and this was sort of at the end of the series where one of them was taking off. But they had sat like that for about 10 minutes. And then next one. This is also, we have a saying here. When we're looking up into a tree and we think we're seeing a bird and we're trying really hard and we just can't make it into a bird, we say, it was a leaf bird. You weren't seeing a leaf bird. You were seeing a leaf, and this is a leaf bird. This is an orange-bellied leaf bird in Bhutan. Leaf birds are in a family of 12 species that occur only in southeastern Asia, and all but the orange-bellied also are green on the breast. They live in the top of the canopies of trees and where they're nicely backlit, and the green of the bird blends in really well with the green of the backlit leaves. And they're not all that easy to see because they're high up and they blend in with the leaves. And the next one is a glistening green tanager from Ecuador. And it's really green all over except for the brown bits on the primary feathers and some of the tail feathers. And this is a male glistening green tanager because it has a few red feathers over its ear. The female is solid green and just as bright. And in a way, I think you might call it a glowing green tanager because it is a very, very bright green. And if you go on the Bird Club field trip, the upcoming trip in July, I took this photograph at the Amagosa Nature Reserve and in the Mindo area of Ecuador on the northwestern Ecuador on the western side of the Andes. And there's a chance you could see one. It's worth it. Thank you.
That is definitely a green bird, that's for sure. Okay. Kevin Murphy is going to present. Shelley Page, you're on deck.
Good evening. And first thing is I want to thank Kevin for doing this again this year. Good round of applause. And I also want to thank all of you for showing me all of your photographs. They're more fun for me to see yours than they are to see mine. I've got some photos here from a trip I made to Africa this last September and October. I was on a mobile camping safari in Botswana. It was not a birding trip, but I did see 198 different species of birds. So this is a saddle-billed stork, and I did my homework before I went. I was hoping I might see one, wasn't sure I would. On the second day on safari, we saw one. It was like, great, I'm going to see saddle-billed storks with an S. Nope. This is the only one that I saw. That bird is taller than I am. It's just under 6 feet tall. And it's called, my wife said, why is it called the saddlebill? The yellow on the bill in front of the eye is actually skin. And that's why it's called a saddlebill. And this is a female because it has a yellow eye. Next. This is an African paradise flycatcher. This bird and its companion would not sit still. They moved and moved and moved. I will not tell you how many shots I took in an effort to get a picture of this bird. But they were just amazing to watch fly. And its tail can be as long as 8 inches long. I would guess this one was about 6.5 inches long. Just a really fun bird to see. Next. This is a lilac-breasted roller. And the safari I was on, half the people were like, oh, we want to see birds. We're here to see mammals. And we saw a lot of mammals. That's another story for another night. But when they saw this bird and some of the other birds, they were like, "Oh wow, birds! Look at that! We'll look at birds too." So it's not a rare bird. It actually gets to the point by the end of the trip you're going, "Oh, it's just another lilac-crested roller." But I just thought that was a great shot of that bird. Before we went to Botswana, we went to Cape Town. And when I was in Cape Town, I had one day where I could officially go birding, and I did get a bird guide. This is a Cape sugar bird, and its tail is longer than the tail of the flycatcher earlier. This one, the tail on this one is probably about 16 or 17 inches long, and it's on a protea in the fynbos biome, which is only located in the Western Cape. And so this is an endemic bird. The only place in the world you can see it is in the Western Cape. And next. And this is the one bird. I made a list of birds I wanted to see. This was at the top of my list. I don't know why. I just really was fascinated by the bird. I didn't see my second, third, or fourth choices, but that's okay. I had a great trip. This is a Cape rock jumper. And so to put this into perspective, behind me was the ocean, probably about 300 yards, and the mountains come down to the ocean. And it's one of the birds you don't have to get up early in the morning because they nest high up in the mountain. And you wait. When they get up in the morning, they start hopping, and they come down lower and lower and lower. And they do hop. This bird hopped from one rock to the other rock to the other rock. I did actually get to see it fly, but that was the one bird I really wanted to see and had a lot of fun seeing it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Shelley Page will share her photos with us. And Sandy, you're next.
My theme for this year is just birding moments. And this was at Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge down in Delaware. And you have to understand, I only take pictures with my Pixel phone. This great blue heron was literally as close as me to Dave Nutter. And so it just begged to be photographed. I got a lot of shots, but we could only do 5. So this is the one I liked best. Another thing that I really enjoyed this year were all of the bird banding sessions at Lindsay Parsons Preserve. This is a brood patch. I'd never seen a brood patch before and wanted to capture the moment when it was revealed to us before the bird was let go. Okay. This is at Hillman Marsh, which is in Ontario. It is a wetland that is near Point Pelee on the north shore of Lake Ontario. But I think it kind of speaks for itself. I was really charmed that these little barn swallows were in the bird viewing shelter. And this is simply a moment. Envision yourself at Black Pond, or really any pond, a remote pond in the Adirondacks, where you're watching the loons and hearing them, but then turning and finding a perfect, freshly molted blue jay feather. So you just have to just imagine hearing the loons in the background. And this is the Thursday birding group in birding meetup in action. I took various photos of us birding together throughout the year, but this one's down at Hog Hole on the lake, and it's just an expression of my affection for all the birders in this group. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Podulka is next, and Tone, you're up.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks again. So early this year, I rented a camera, and then I realized it wasn't great time for photographing, so I started looking around. What can I do? And I went up to Myers Point, and everything was frozen. There were no birds, but there was a little patch of water open in the harbor near the lighthouse, and there were just a few birds in there, and these common mergansers were amused me for quite a while. And I guess fish were few and far between, because when this guy got one, he really got chased. And this chase went on for 3 minutes, and I took 312 photos. And one came out really well. So there you go. So anyway, that was a fun moment. I had a lot of fun. I was very excited. Next. So we have hooded mergansers that nest in a box in the pond that's just off our front yard. And almost every year I miss the exodus from where they jump out of the box. And one year, the first year I think we saw it when I used to get up earlier in the morning, but I'm a late riser these days. And this year I managed to look out the window and see them start. And the mother was below the box, and when she's below the box calling, you know they're about to pop. And so I grabbed the camera and ran out the door and made it down for just the last couple dropping out of the box. And so I was really happy. I just got very lucky. So. This year, for the first time, believe it or not, probably I'm the only one in the room, I had never been to see the sandhill crane migration in the North Platte River Valley in Nebraska. So we went out in early April, and I was wowed. It's just a million cranes come through there, or probably more. And when we were there, I think it was a few 100,000. Everybody gave you a different estimate. But there's this place called Rose Sanctuary. It's run by Audubon. And you can go, and they have blinds set up all along the river, and probably everybody else knows. You go in the morning. You go in the dark, and then you stay there until partly through the morning, and you can watch. Sometimes the cranes are right in front of you, and they take off from there, and sometimes they're further away. And then you go in the middle of the afternoon, again, if you want to see them coming in the evening. But if you haven't been, it's a spectacular sighting. So I highly recommend that. And this was just, one of many thousand photos I took. I'm 18,000 photos behind this year in going through my photos. If you go in the first week in April, you can catch both cranes and grouse, and these are greater prairie chicken nearby. There are various places you can go, and this is a place where you go in a blind, and you can sit and watch these prairie chickens on a lek. I think there were roughly 30 birds. We went a couple mornings, and I'd never seen grouse lekking before, so this was wonderful. I would go back in a second, so I highly recommend it. Is there one missing? No, that's it. Okay. So on another trip this year, we hardly ever go out west, but we went out a bunch of times this year, and I made it to the Prairie Pothole region, which I'd never been to before, and absolutely fell in love with, much to my surprise. And this was in North Dakota in June, and I think partly I fell in love because this is one of my all-time favorite birds ever. Does anybody have a guess as to who these guys are? Yeah, marbled. So these are baby marbled godwits. And we were just in the car early in the morning and driving around. I have all these sloughs, and you can just drive around, and there's stuff everywhere. And these 3 little chicks were with their mom or dad walking around, and we just sat there watching them for quite a while. And that was one of my big thrills this summer. So, thanks.
Don Schat will show us his photos now, and Tom Shepard on deck.
Thanks, Kevin. We got an invitation for a meeting in Borneo. And you don't travel to the other part of the world and not do bird watching. So we also arranged a bird trip in Sabah, one of the 2 states of Malaysia, in Borneo. And this is the Boer's pheasant, a male, halfway in transition to full feathers, because the white tail needs to be completely white during the mating season. It's considered vulnerable at the moment. It can be found also in Sumatra. They try to breed it, but somehow the best breeders of pheasants are unable to get those birds to breed in captivity to reintroduce it in areas where it is not longer present. It's a beautiful bird. We saw it actually in a blind that was organized by the government but privately owned. So you would sit in the blind for 3, 4, 5 hours, hoping that some bird would come by, and those did come by. Next, please. This is a dared trogon, female, in Septilok, another part of Sabah. A beautiful bird. It is fairly common in Sumatra and mainland Malaysia. Next, please. The rhinoceros hornbill. Almost hunted to extinction because the feathers were used in ceremonial festivities by the native population. We were lucky. That was on a walkway in Septilok, and those birds flew in, always in couple, 10 yards away from us. This is a male. Why? Because there's a dark eye. The female has a white eye. It was also the symbol of my meeting in Kuching in the other state, Sarawak, and the people there had it with a white eye. They didn't know that it was a female, so I gave them that information. Next. The black-crowned pitta. We, again in Septilok, we were waiting, and our bird guide, we had a tour with the two of us, Laura and myself, and a bird guide and a driver. He was playing it because he knew that was a place where this nice pitta would come to. And after, I think, 20 minutes or so, it finally showed up and gave a beautiful show, and this is one of the many pictures we took. This is the only true endemic of the 5 bird species that I show you, endemic for the state of Sabah. Next. Yeah, there's a competitor with my beard here. The bird wins. It is a Penang bulbul, but if you go to the bird books, it's also called Austrasius bulbul, and they have recently renamed it. I don't know if that was for a new split off, but it has a beautiful beard. It's a really funny bird to watch, actually. And it was also in the same place where we saw the pheasant. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, Tone. I think your beard's pretty good, too. Okay, Tom Shepard's going to show us some slides, and Norm Triggerbuff on deck, please.
Okay. So immediately after COVID, Fran and I had a trip scheduled to Southeast Arizona, and they closed the Phoenix airport down, and basically we had to scrap it. So Fran did a little looking online, and we found a birding trip that had 2 cancellations on it. So she jumped on it, and we got this experience. So this is in Southeast Arizona. It's on the western side, ascending the Chiricahua Mountains in Pinery Canyon. And this is a Mexican spotted owl, which is quite a rare bird. And the power of this photograph deals with the opportunity that we all have as Cayuga Bird Club members to bird together. Because when we started up this canyon, we actually walked right past this and never saw it. So on the way back, our leader was talking with another experienced birder, and he pointed it out to him. And so we were actually on the back side of it when we first saw it. And so we had to walk around front to get this angle. But there it is, a football on a branch. So the next 4 are from our Peru trip with Jody. And I had over 2,500 photographs I took on the trip. So it was a little bit of an extensive time to try to sort through all of them. But this one is a many-colored rush tyrant. Yeah, many-colored rush tyrant. And it's one of the first spots we birded in, and it was called Los Pantanos de Villa, which literally means the village swamp. But anyway, you can see the many different colors on it. There is a red spot, I believe, on the breast, which you can't see in this one. But it also speaks to the power of camouflage that birds have, because you can see almost every color that bird displays in the background. These are very much like birding for warblers, only on the ground. This one is very fast, and it's really hard to get a good shot, so I was very fortunate to get this one. So next slide, please. So you've probably seen this guy before. So on a previous trip that we took with Jody to Costa Rica, we had an opportunity to see a jacamar. I can't remember which one at the time, but the lighting was terrible, and I had a tough time just getting a photograph that was a silhouette of it. This guy, on the other hand, was very cooperative. There was this branch that went right from one tree to another. It had a tremendous background, and he just sat there and posed for the whole time that we were there. They're a very voracious insect eater, so he was just kind of checking out the landscape to see what insects he could find. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so some of the comic performers that we ran into down were these burrowing owls. And the first place that we saw these, the landscape was very sort of a dark brown color, and it had some really short vegetation. And they're pretty hard to spot, but the clue to finding these birds is they really are excavators. And beneath each one, there is usually this tremendous pile of tailings from the excavation that they do. So these two were actually near one of the clay licks that we visited. And of course, just looking at them is comic. One of our fellow participants got a picture of these two actually, and it looked like they were kissing. So I can't take credit for that one, but this one, everybody's got an itch sometime. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this was the object of where we were when we found the burrowing owls, but this is the Chuncho clay lick, and it's probably one of the larger ones on the Tambopata River. So Tambopata, I looked up because I'm fascinated by word origins, and it means basically a house on legs or an inn on legs. So the inns that we stayed at were up on poles to keep them off the wet ground. But that's where that Tambopata comes from. So in this photograph, there are actually 3 different species. The macaws with the yellow on their back are the scarlet macaws. And they're pretty much in the left-hand side of the picture. On the right-hand side of the picture are the red and green macaws. They don't have the yellow stripe in them, but they look very much the same. And then over here, we've got one blue-headed parrot. And there were probably more blue-headed parrots there than there were macaws, but they really make a noise, and it's very noisy. So these clay licks are probably about 30 feet high, I would say, from the river bottom. And this is all where it's eroded off by the water that flows through the river. And they go there to supplement their diet or whatever with the minerals that they find in the clay. But we also learned that they utilize those same minerals to kind of quell the effect of some of the poisonous fruits that they eat in the forest. So that was kind of an eye-opener for us. But anyway, it's a colorful one to end on. Thanks very much.
So Norm, are you here? Oh, well, okay. We did get a submission from Norm Trigaboff, whom I do not know. But I'll just show quickly he had nice Harris's Hawk experience with perhaps the Raptor group here at Cornell. I'm not sure. They have a Harris's Hawk too. All right, so that leaves me, and those of you who've been to a number of these know that I shamelessly exploit the fact that I am in charge. And so I restrict myself neither to 5 photos or 3 minutes, but Last year, I will have you remember, last year I only showed 2, and that was, I wasn't even going to show those because we had so many people in the presentation. So I make no apologies this year. Those of you who know me well know that I actually spend a lot of time out at the Cornell compost facility. I spend at least an hour every Saturday out there looking for things like this fellow right here, who is, these photos were taken last May. This bird I banded as a nestling in 2014, so it was 11 years old at that point. I don't know if you can see, but there are, it's only got one, the metal band left down here. The other 3 color bands are gone. And although you can perhaps read this says 3.8. This is a bird hatched on Sapsucker Woods Road here in 2014. This tattered tag is, I'm actually surprised it's still there as a remnant. I'm not tagging crows anymore, so there are getting to be fewer and fewer of them out there. But then I also am keeping tabs on some birds. This bird seemed to know me when I drove out there, and she came up and sat like she wanted me to do something, like maybe give her a peanut. And so I did, and she took it very, very happily. She, interestingly, has, you can see some little white flecks in her face, right? She's got a little bit of white. This is exactly the same as some of us that are having progressive graying. That is the death of the pigment-producing cells at the base of the feathers, and she is continuing. She molted this summer and got a little bit whiter. So I don't know how she knows me, or if she just is friendly and expects everybody to give her peanuts, because I know she did approach a few other people in their cars out there. Sandy, you're saying she came to see you too? I suspect that she's from one of the families here in Cayuga Heights that our group follows, and a couple of our volunteers are overly exuberant peanut feeders. But anyway, so I go out to the compost for the crows, but that's not all I see out there. And this one day in May, it was a little drizzly day in May, and here's a nice American pipit that came up and allowed itself to be photographed in this cute little least sandpiper. So there are a number of birds that come through. This particular day I was using a new lens that I had borrowed that was bigger and better than mine. So even though it was not a particularly sunny day, it was still May, and there were things to be done. So I decided on the way home I would stop by the Muddy Wildflower Garden, and I lucked into a few birds that were cooperative enough to come down and got to get some nice photographs of common birds. But when you have better equipment, it makes it fun, as those of us who take thousands of photos know. And yeah, even the most common of birds can be quite beautiful and really, really fun. I got some very good looks at some of the common. This was early May. The catbirds were back in full force, but the last of the further migrants were still coming in. And this is a nice warbling vireo that came down low enough to actually get to see it very well instead of staying way the heck up in the trees. And my favorite bird of the day was this lovely little northern parula, who let me get a good look and take a look. Just a few photos, right? I'm not saying, but it wasn't thousands like Sandy, so it's just normal bird photography. Now, let me say, for those of you, most of you are of an age that you can remember film photography. And I remember, that's back in the day when it cost basically $1 a photo for buying the photos and having them developed and all of that. And I remember our good friend Mari Reed saying that she was out, actually it was her husband, Peter, who was telling me that She was out in her blind on Ringwood and taking photo after photo after photo, and she came in and Pete said, "So, did you get some good photos?" She said, "Nah, there wasn't anything there. I was just shooting." And he's like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" It's like, and that's what she told me too, that you, as a rule of thumb, you take 75 photos for one publishable image. And that was just unconscionable back then for me. But now I can do this and I love it. And clearly other people in the room love digital photography too. So thank you all for sharing your photographs, and thanks everybody else for coming and enjoying.